Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we're going to learn about IELTS Speaking Test Part 1. Our topic is dictionaries. Before we begin the lesson, remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you find this video useful, then give it a thumbs up and share it with anybody else who may need it. Now, let us begin by looking at some questions that you may get if you're planning to sit for your IELTS speaking test on the topic of dictionaries. Question 1. Do you often use a dictionary? Do you often use a dictionary? If the examiner asks you this question, then they want to know how often, how many times, how regularly do you use a dictionary, okay? So, let's look at a sample answer. Yes, I use a dictionary almost daily, especially when I'm studying languages, psychology, and history. Yes, I use a dictionary almost daily, especially when I'm studying languages, psychology, and history. Now, in that answer, you have explained very clearly that you use the dictionary daily. How often? Daily. But after that, you have explained when you actually do use it. That is, when you're studying languages, also when you're studying psychology, and when you're studying history. Remember, when you're doing your IELTS speaking test on Part 1, avoid yes or no answers, but also ensure that you provide at least 2 to 3 answers, or 2 to 3 points, or 2 to 3 sentences for each question. Now, let's move on to question 2. What do you use dictionaries for? What do you use dictionaries for? The examiner wants to know, whenever you use a dictionary, what is the reason behind it? What exactly are you looking for from the dictionary? Now, you may answer this question by saying, sample answer 2. I use dictionaries to look up meanings of words, synonyms and antonyms of words, and how to pronounce them. I use dictionaries to look up meanings of words, synonyms and antonyms of words, and how to pronounce them. Now, in that sentence, I have 3 points that I have joined together using the linking word and. So the first point is, I use dictionaries to look up meanings of words, that is, definitions. The second point, I use dictionaries to find synonyms of words. Synonyms are words that have the same meaning. But I also use dictionaries for antonyms. Antonyms are words that have opposite meanings. And finally, I use dictionaries to know how to pronounce words. So I have 3 to 4 points there. And I've joined those words using, I've joined those ideas or those sentences using linking words. Remember to do that. Remember to use linking words to join your points together or your sentences or ideas together, okay? Now, if you want to make that answer longer, you may say, I use dictionaries to look up meanings of words, but also words that have the same meaning and words that have the opposite meaning. Finally, I use dictionaries to know how to pronounce words, okay? That's one way of making it longer. And if you want to use linking words, if you want to use connectors in the whole answer, then you can say, firstly, I use dictionaries to look up meanings of words. Furthermore, I use them to find words that have the same meaning and the opposite meaning. And finally, I use dictionaries to know how to pronounce words. Okay? Now, let's move on to question 3. What kind of dictionaries do you think are most useful? What kind of dictionaries do you think are most useful? Now, the examiner wants to know, we have different types of dictionaries, okay? So the examiner wants to know what kind of dictionaries you think are most useful. Which ones do you think help you more than the others? Now, let's look at the sample answer. I find bilingual dictionaries very useful because I can translate words from my mother tongue to English. A thesaurus is also very helpful for word synonyms and antonyms. Online dictionaries help me a lot with pronunciation. Now, I find bilingual dictionaries very useful because I can translate words from my mother tongue to English. A thesaurus is also very helpful for word synonyms and antonyms. Online dictionaries help me a lot with pronunciation. Now, in that answer, it is very clear that I know the different types of dictionaries. And these are bilingual dictionaries. You have a thesaurus. You have an online dictionary, okay? So, in your answer, you have used the correct vocabulary that is relevant to the topic that you are talking about. And that is extremely important when you're doing your IELTS speaking test. You're expected to use a wide variety of vocabulary that is relevant to the topic, okay? Bilingual dictionaries. Now, bilingual dictionaries are very useful when you want to translate a word from your mother tongue to English. But then we also have a thesaurus, and we use a thesaurus to find word synonyms and antonyms. But you can also use an online dictionary to find how to pronounce a word. Okay? Now, in that answer, I have at least 3 points. The first one is about bilingual dictionaries. Okay? The next one is a thesaurus. And the final one is about online dictionaries. So the question was, what kind of dictionaries do you think are most useful? It was not what kind of dictionary. Okay? What kind of dictionaries? So you're expected to refer to more than one dictionary. Okay? You're expected to refer to more than one dictionary. And that's why in my answer I have talked about bilingual dictionaries, I've talked about a thesaurus, I've also talked about online dictionaries. So pay attention to what the examiner is asking you, okay? Don't limit yourself. The question is not what kind of dictionary do you think is most useful, but it is dictionaries. So you have to refer to more than one. Now, let's move on to question 4. Do you think dictionaries are useful for learning a language? Do you think dictionaries are useful for learning a language? So what the examiner is asking you here is, when you're learning a language, does a dictionary help at all? Okay? when you're learning a new language, does a dictionary help you at all? Okay? Do you think dictionaries are useful for learning a language? Yes, most definitely, because we can use them to build our vocabulary, learn how to pronounce words, but also their definitions. Yes, most definitely, because we can use them to build our vocabulary, learn how to pronounce words, but also their definitions. So in that answer, you have confirmed. The question was, do you think dictionaries are useful for learning a language? And you have said yes, most definitely. After that, you need to provide reasons to justify your answer. You need to provide reasons to back up your answer. And the reasons should always be 2 to 3. Okay? Yes, most definitely, because we can use them to build our vocabulary, that is 1. Learn how to pronounce words, that is 2. But also their definitions. Now, even though I have one sentence there, it is a complex sentence. Remember, for your IELTS speaking test, the examiner expects you to use a variety of sentence structures. He or she expects you to use simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. If you're not familiar with those types of sentences, then feel free to have a look at my playlist on grammar. I have uploaded a video about the 3 types of sentences in English. So, answer number 4 is a complex sentence. And in that sentence, I have joined my points together using linking words or connectors. Now, yes, most definitely. So I have used because. I have also used but also. So yes, most definitely, because we can use them to build our vocabulary, learn how to pronounce words, but also their definitions. Now, let's move on to the last question, and that is question 5. What kind of information can you find in a dictionary? What kind of information can you find in a dictionary? So what the examiner is asking you here is, what sort of details, when you use a dictionary, okay, what kind of information do you find in that dictionary? Okay? What do we use dictionaries for? What kind of information are we able to find in a dictionary? Now, let's look at sample answer 5. From a dictionary, you can find word synonyms and antonyms, pronunciation of the words, as well as their meanings. Bilingual dictionaries translate a word from one language to another. From a dictionary, you can find word and synonyms and antonyms, pronunciation of the words, as well as their meanings. Bilingual dictionaries translate a word from one language to another. So this is the sort of information that you can find in a dictionary. You can find word synonyms and antonyms. You can also find how to pronounce the words, but also you can find the definitions or the meanings of words. And if you're using a bilingual dictionary, you can actually find a translation of the word from one language to another. Now, again there I have used a complex and a compound sentence. Okay? The first one is a complex sentence. From a dictionary, you can find word synonyms and antonyms, pronunciation of the words, as well as their meanings. And in bilingual dictionaries, you can translate a word from one language to another. Now, you can also answer that question in a different way using the same answer that I have as a sample answer. What kind of information can you find in a dictionary? In a dictionary, you can find words that have the same meaning, but also words that have opposite meanings. Furthermore, you can find how to pronounce the words as well as their meanings. And finally, from a bilingual dictionary, you can find a word that translates from your mother tongue to the language that you are learning. Okay? Now, remember to use the words that are very relevant to the topic, and that is your vocabulary. Make sure that you're using vocabulary that is very, very relevant to the topic of dictionaries. And these are words such as studying languages, look up meanings of words, synonyms, antonyms, pronunciation, bilingual dictionaries, translation of words, mother tongue, a thesaurus, okay, online dictionaries, pronunciation, vocabulary, okay, definitions, and so on. Okay, so finally, as I come to the end of this lesson, I am going to read the questions out for you, and as I read the questions, please think of an answer. Are you ready? Okay, let us begin. Do you often use a dictionary? What do you use dictionaries for? What kind of dictionaries do you think are most useful? Do you think dictionaries are useful for learning a language? What kind of information can you find in a dictionary? Now, I hope that you are able to answer those questions correctly, but if you had a few problems here and there, do not worry, because you still have the sample answers and you have the video that you can replay as many times as you want to develop confidence in your upcoming IELTS speaking test on this topic. Now, if you found the lesson useful, if you found it useful and informative and helpful, then subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and share the video and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in our next lesson. Bye bye.